All right, guys, today we got a special guest in the house. You might know him from his battle rap days in the underground scene or spitting with some of the illest rappers like Immortal Technique and Poison Pen. I'm talking about the one and only Diabolic.
What up?
Yo, Bollock, how you doing today, bro?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm glad to have you here.
Nice, man. I'm glad to be here.
You're originally from Long Island, right? Were you born there?
Yeah. Huntington Station's where I grew up, which is like halfway. It's right on the border of Nassau and Suffolk County, right in the middle.
Okay. And you grew up with an older brother and any other siblings or just the one brother?
Nah, just my older brother. He's like 5.5, 6 years old, depending on the time of year, you know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was cool. He's a dick, but he's cool.
What did your parents do for work?
They were both computer programmers.
Oh,
in the 80s and shit. You know, like not like building websites, not that type of shit. Like my mother kind of like would build inventory systems for companies, you know, so like say you sell nuts and bolts, she would build the inventory system for you to be able to ship it and keep track of what you have. And my father, he worked in something called like, let's say COBOL or some shit. It's like 80s, you know, kind of data input type of shit, you know? So like he always maintained a job even after that shit was obsolete because a lot of these companies would have that stuff from the 70s and 80s and nobody to work on it, you know? And it would, like the big data dumps, if you were to convert to modern computing, it would take you lots of money and lots of people that they don't want to pay. So they just kind of keep it the way they kept it.
So would you say that you grew up like middle class or like
yeah, but broke middle class type thing, you
like
know?
lower middle class, right?
Yeah, I guess. You know, like we had a house. It was a shitty house, you know, meh neighborhood, you know. It was all right though. Both my parents were there, they worked. So, you know, you never went without
Right.
food or anything like that. It was never like that. You went without Jordans and cool shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was none of that, you know?
What was it like growing up in Long Island?
It was fun, man. I liked Long Island. I don't know. What was it like? It was, you see, like being a kid in the 80s and, you know, going into the 90s, being a teenager and shit. It's different than kids now. Anybody my age will tell you that. It's, you know, we were out bikes, you know, causing trouble, burning down, fucking the woods, you know, shit like that. And it was fun, you know, fist fighting, playing sports, you know, standard shit. It was pretty cool.
So would you say like as a kid, like how would you describe yourself? Like were you quiet, social, into sports?
I mean, I was an athlete. I played every fucking sport under the sun. I was good at them. Like I was good at football, basketball, baseball, real good at baseball. I was heavily into sports. I was into art, like drawing, comic book shit, you know, cartoonish type stuff. As a younger kid. And then, you know, as I got older, it translated into like doing graffiti, doing burners and stuff like that. But I always played sports. I mean, I played baseball pretty relatively competitively into like my mid to late 20s, even when I was rapping and shit. Played in like wooden bat leagues in the Bronx and shit. It was cool.
What is your family's ethnic background?
Like white shit, like Irish, German, some British, I think, Scottish, white people shit.
So not like any like one in particular that was like dominant in the household.
Mostly Irish and then some German, you know, but nothing that really was, you know, carried over per se. Aside from like on my mother's side, some of the Irish Catholic type shit, you know, like they definitely went to church and stuff, you know, but not really, you know, we were just like, you know, Christmas, you know, that was like our background, Christmas and shit, you know, Easter eggs and Christmas time, you know, St. Patrick's Day, we'd make some corned beef, you know, it wasn't a big deal though, that type of thing.
What about school? Were you like really into school or?
No, no. As a kid, I got good grades, but like I always fucked off. I was fucking off from the point I realized you could, you know? Then you get into high school, and back then, you know, they didn't have like barcode scanning IDs for attendance, so we were cutting and trying to get out of going to school as often as possible. School sucked. It's stupid. You know, high school's like you remember you ever see Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Right.
You know, when he's like, it's a little childish and stupid, but then so is high school. It is. It's
Yeah.
childish and stupid.
So would you consider yourself kind of like mischievous as a kid, or just like you guys were bored and
Yeah, to some extent. Yeah, I was. You know, like when we discovered matches and fucking cutting through yards and ringing and running and or ding dong ditch, some people call it. It was ring and run over here, but like you know, like we were on it. We burnt down the woods in like 7 neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? Because we were
holy
just,
shit?
you know, just like little stupid fires. We'd light fires for shits and gigs, firecrackers. Like I remember Halloween as a kid around here in my neighborhood, like this general area over here. It was a fucking wild time. You know, you had egg mobiles, we used to call them, and that was like, you know, I mean, it always seemed like grown-ups, but it was probably 17, 18-year-old kids driving around in fucking cars and pickup trucks and just bombing off on us. You know what I'm saying? Just egging the shit out of the little kids. And fucking, there was shaving cream fights. Then if you went up to the school that's kind of in my neighborhood, it kind of connects a couple different neighborhoods. It turned into wild times. Like you went up there rocking ski goggles and you know, bubble jackets to protect yourself because it was like BB gun wars and fucking people making like basically rifles out of bottle rockets and a wiffle ball bat, shooting them at each other. It was a mischievous neighborhood. And, you know, the 80s into the, you know, very early 90s was a mischievous time for kids. Kids got into shit, you know?
How was the 80s like, as far as, you know, that was a very interesting time in history, right? For a lot of different reasons. How would you say that Long Island was affected during that time, if any at all?
I mean, I was a little kid, you know, I was like, you know, elementary school age, so I don't know. I don't know how they were affected, you know. I would assume people were doing okay with money because money started booming at that time. I don't really know. I liked it. You know, I was playing Little League and PAL football and shit. Seemed like fun.
Any
You know,
a lot of crime in Long Island during that time or anything?
there was, you know, there was a fair share of it, you know, but I mean, I was pretty far removed from it, you know, like you hear about things
Right.
in retrospect, yes, but it was just a different time. Like there was this dude in our area named Crazy Larry, right? And this fucking lunatic he was like, you know, he was probably like a 56-year-old guy, looked like shit, drunk, fucking, he would ride around on a fucking moped talking shit to everybody, yelling at people. He'd be throwing those little Schmitz beer bottles at people, kids. He was a fucking crazy person. Like that shit existed back then. And I look back at that and I'm like, that's pretty fucked up because now, like, that wouldn't fly for too long. You know, somebody would film it and he'd be in a fucking home somewhere, you know? But this guy just kind of, he existed somewhere. I don't know. He's probably dead now, but yeah, it was Crazy Larry.
With your parents working in computers and tech and everything like that, did you like have like a computer in the home like real early on? Were you introduced to that really early?
No, not really. They didn't give a fuck. They didn't want to deal with it. That was work, you know? I mean, we had like, I remember as a kid, we had a thing called a VIC 20, which was a gaming system. And like,
Right.
you're talking like 1985, 86, that had like Pong or little stupid racing games on it. That was like kind of like a computer that connected to the TV. But I'm thinking like, when did we get a fucking computer in the house? Like an actual computer? Probably, I was probably late into high school, maybe 96, maybe something like that. Before we actually had a computer, I was using like the, you know, new age typewriters to do reports. I'll never forget that. If I wanted to use a computer, I went to the library.
Right.
There was no laptops. My mother had a work laptop that I could, you know, maybe touch if I wanted to, but, you know, it wasn't like something that was part of the household.